Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. I've been going through a series of video presentations I've created for the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Web Development 1000 Web Development Technologies class. So far I've done presentations for all 20 chapters of one of the books for the AWD1000 class, that being Murox HTML5 and CSS3 4th edition. So I've done them on all 20 of these chapters. Now I'm into the second book for the class, Murox JavaScript and jQuery 3rd edition. So far I've done all of section 1, all of section 3, and I'm going back and doing section 2 now. I've done chapter 8. So that brings us into chapter 9, which is the last one I'll do today. Tomorrow I hope to finish up on the last 3, and then be done with books, as far as the PowerPoint presentations are concerned. So the second lecture is on how to use, this is the second jQuery lecture, it's how to use effects and animation. So let's get to it. How to use jQuery to add effects and animations to a web page. And more than anything else, that's what this chapter is about. Alright? One thing about animation that I will tell you, and there are several examples in here, is it's the kind of thing that's very easy to overuse on a website. Don't let cool tools override the message of the site. You don't want somebody coming to your site and thinking, man, that was cool. I have no idea what their product was they were pitching, but the site was really cool. No. The emphasis should always be on what it is the site is about. And as long as you put in special effects and animation that accentuate that, you're fine. But just don't let it override the message. So here are some of the basic methods for effect. You can show and hide things. Toggle means that if it's showing, hide it. If it's hiding, show it. All right, you can make things slide up and slide down on a screen, or you can toggle them back and forth, fade in, fade out, and fade toggle. All right. As it says, the basic syntax for these methods is all the same. You call the method name, you say how long. There are some predefined values. I think it's like usually slow, fast, and medium. You can also add a callback function, which means after the fade or whatever happens, you can call a function to do something. This is the fade to. Why would you want to use that? Notice there's an opacity. So if you wanted something to be very opaque and then become transparent over time, or vice versa, you could use the fade to. All right. So as it says, HTML for a heading that is animated after a web page loads. So you do things like this. You've got this H1 called startup message, and what you're saying is after 5 seconds, you want the heading to fade out. All right, so here it says after you're using chaining, notice there's 2 dots. So this is saying you want it to fade out over 5 seconds and also slide down over 1 second. All right, here's a callback which says when you're done with all that stuff, then write a function to do this. All right, the fax application as the text for a heading is displayed. Again, if you wanted to, what you could do when you clicked on this is rather than have it just go away like that, which is maybe what you want to have happen, but rather than doing that, one thing that you could do in lieu of that is you could have this stuff that's in here fade away. And when you click, let's say on this one, you could have the text fade in. All right. And again, just to show you this one should work. All right, emphasis on the should. But if you remember before, I went over to jQuery UI. Now, I should be able to grab, oh, isn't there a fade in and fade out here? Oh, I thought there were. One thing I am going to show you, and this should work, is this accordion. This is like the FAQ stuff that we looked at before. See that? So you can make things come up. All right. This is a very simple example. And the key thing, the takeaway I want you to have is that's all the jQuery. you create an ID in here that for the stuff you use that's called accordion. Then you tell it to run the accordion method. This should work. Again, emphasis on the should. 70 lines, but only about 5 are actually jQuery lines. All right, so all I did was copy it in, run. Let's run it in Chrome. Taking a little while to load. As you can see, I've got a lot of stuff open. Takes too long. Oh, there it is. So you'll notice there's no CSS with this. So it's not going to look pretty like the other one did. All right, but you can see how functional it is. All right, let's jump back. So they give you the HTML. As I mentioned, here's jQuery for sliding in and sliding up. It's not a lot of code. Again, if it's a minus, have it fade out. Otherwise, etc. Effect, animation, and callback. Typically with animation, it's going to involve movement. Up and down, left and right, diagonally on the screen, whatever it is. All right, an effect is something that you want to have happen. All right. The callback typically means after you call one of these routines and it finishes, you call an additional function. It could be something as simple as saying, okay, this is finished. Okay. Here's a slideshow where you have things fade in and fade out, and they show you the code to do that. In fact, they show you one way to code the jQuery and then another way to code the jQuery. Okay. jQuery for stopping and starting a slideshow, etc. All right. So a little bit more on animation here. An animated heading that is moving into the FAQ section. All right. And again, this, I believe at least, the author is just doing this stuff for effect. All right. What I'm saying is you typically wouldn't want that on an FAQ section. Even be leery of the fade in and fade out stuff. All right. Many people are not used to that. In fact, typically it's been what I have found is if you're going to use a lot of special effects, a lot of colors, a lot of whiz-bang type of stuff, typically kids get into that more than adults do. All right, just like kids like pictures more than, whereas adults concentrate more on text. Now those are generalizations, but from what I have found in my career, that they're pretty much the true most of the time. All right, you can delay an animation, you can stop a running animation. You can stop a running animation, clear the queue, and then complete everything. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. Notice this. This fades the heading out after 5 seconds. So it shows it, okay, and it starts after 5 seconds, it tells it to do this. So delay, so keep it on screen and then do this. All right. So one thing that can happen when you use jQuery with animations is you can be in the middle. Let's use this one as an example. So this is some kind of an image swap. All right. What happens if I click this? If I click this, then probably big on the page, I get a bigger image of this one. But what if this is starting to run and I quick click this one? Then I quick click that one. What can end up happening when you work with this stuff is you can be in the middle of one animation and it wants to start another one. Well, what happens is it queues this stuff up. It's kind of like, if I tell you to do this and to do this and to do this. And the idea is you've got 3 jobs, but you have to finish job 1, then you can start job 2. When you finish job 2, you can start job 3, etc. That's the way quite often you and I work, not necessarily the way these animations will work. But you can force them into working that way. Okay? There's a lot of different easing that you can do with this stuff. You can have stuff ease in or ease out. Typically with an ease in, it starts slow and it gets faster. With an ease out, it starts fast and then it gets slower. All right? And there's a lot more than that. Here's a couple of easings. And again, you can put bounce effects on it and a lot of other types of effects as well. All right. So this is some of the stuff that you can put in when you use animation. Again, this isn't going to make a boatload of sense until you start looking at it. All right? And I cannot emphasize to you too much. You say, well, I'd really like to get a leg up on this. Fine. So I just put in my bar there, my address bar, W3 Schools jQuery animation. Here's jQuery effects on W3 Schools. Now notice when I click Start Animation, that's pretty obvious what happened there. 3 things. All right? You may or may not have noticed them, so let's do this again. All right? So what happened? And I say 3 things, you go, no, yeah, let's talk about it. First thing is, it's sliding from left to right. Second thing is the opacity is going from more opaque to more transparent. And the third thing is the text is getting bigger as it's sliding over. So that's what they do here, is they just give you example after example. They start slow, and they just move something across the screen. How do you learn about this? Well, you learn that you can go across the screen like this, right? And then you can go down, and then you can go over, etc. I'm going to try this. I have no idea if what I'm about to put in here is going to work or not. All right, so first I told it to go left, 250 pixels. And next I'm going to tell it, I don't know if down is correct or not, but we're going to find out. 250 pixels. Now it went left, so I'm going to try, well, let's try right. And let's try up. This may not even work. Nope, it liked the first one, didn't like the rest. But it's a good little sandbox here where you can go in fact, let's just remove this one. All right, it's been a while since I played with this stuff. Sorry about that. Let's just finish up because we're almost done anyway. All right. Again, when you cue stuff, as I mentioned, by default, the way this stuff works is if I've got several animations that I want to run, they don't all run at once. One runs, the rest get queued up. When the first one's done, the second one's done, etc. But when you do this, you can tell it to, again, this can be problematic if you're in the middle of one animation, you try to start a new one. It's supposed to queue it, but if it doesn't. So there's ways that you can work with the queue. You can dequeue, you can clear the queue, etc. All right. This is a carousel application, and it didn't really show, but the idea is if there's, I think there's 15 or something like that Muroc books. If you click here, these all move over one. So this will be gone, this will be here, this will be here, and there'll be a new book here, and you can go in the other direction as well. And they show you the HTML, the CSS, and the jQuery for doing this. All right. Finally, they modify the image swap. So notice, fade the caption and the image in and out. All right. That's pretty much it. Again, when I come back then, I will be going through chapters 10, 11, and 12, which will pretty much complete this textbook. And I'll be back with that tomorrow.